Kyle Schwarber, 3 swings, 3 bombs in the All-Star Game's first ever swing-off. Not a derby, a swing-off. And that gave the National League the lead. They won 4-3 in the swing-off. So the official final score is 7-6. The actual All-Star Game, traditional baseball, was a 6-6 tie, but baseball's calling this a 7-6 win for the National League All-Stars. As the NL blew a 6-0 lead. It's always nice to see Dave Roberts mismanage a bullpen in a big game. There he was for the Dodgers. This is baseball's equivalent. Remember they announced this a couple years ago, and we did monologues about it, then we forgot about it. But baseball's equivalent to the penalty kick shootout in soccer. Ole, 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 just like soccer. So, game decided by having 3 batters that supposedly were selected before the game. 3 batters for each team, and each league took 3 swings. And if you didn't hit a home run, it was an out, and you only get 3 swings, and it came down to the bitter end. That was agreed to back in 2022, so 3 years ago. And they said, we will never have ties again. We do not want to worry about running out of pitchers, so we'll just change the way the game is played. That's what we're going to do. All right, so let us discuss. We got something new to talk about. We don't often get new things to talk about, so we have something new to talk about. The question, thumbs up or thumbs down on the All-Star Game being decided by a swing-off. All right, so I've got Rob Parker, WWE, and Amazon. And we will combine all of these things together, and we are going to make the gabagool. We're going to make the gabagool. So, as far as thumbs up, thumbs down on the All-Star swing-off, I will be not Benny Brightside, but I'm not going to be Benny the Downer. I am going to go sideways thumb. I'm going sideways thumb, and here's why. Let me make my argument for this here. I didn't love the swing-off. I didn't. It was fine. I didn't love it. I hear a lot of people saying, oh, it was the greatest thing ever. It was like orgasmic. I didn't have that reaction. I feel like people are overreacting to what they watched because it's a shiny new object, and everyone loves the shiny new object. My temperature on this is lukewarm. That's where I am. It's like room temperature. And here's why. When you think about what we actually watched or listened to if you're blind, the American League was down by 1 home run. They needed at least 1 home run to tie, 2 to win the final round of the swing-off. Not a derby, swing-off. The game hinged with everyone watching who stayed up late because it was late on the East Coast. Now, we're late-night people, so for us it doesn't matter. But for those people that work the dreaded day shift, it matters. So somebody named Jonathan Aranda from Tampa Bay was in the batter's box, three swings, needed 1 home run to tie, 2 to win. Who? It's never a good sign when you have to just Google it, the name of the person who has the All-Star Game on their shoulders and you have no idea. You didn't even know they were on the team. So Aranda stepped in and we right off a milk carton into the batter's box there for the American League All-Stars, and on the last swing, wing batter came up short. Hollow ending. You know I'm right. You might not would admit it, but you know I'm right. It was a hollow ending. Don't bury the lead, my man. Times 2. Don't bury the lead. So would it have killed Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani to have taken part in this historical shindig? Would it have been the worst thing in the world to have the 2 biggest stars in baseball take part in the swing-off at the first ever edition in an All-Star game? And the answer is yes. It would have killed both Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani because they were not in the building. Okay? You can't do something if you're out of the building and you're 30,000 feet in the air because you're on a plane leaving Atlanta. Or, I don't know, it's possible that Ohtani and Aaron Judge went down to Magic City with Rob Parker, and we're having those lemon pepper wings and having a grand time. Because they didn't want to risk, out of an abundance of caution. If Aaron Judge and Ohtani had batted, they might have messed up their swing in the swing-off. Who knows? Maybe they would have stepped on a booby trap in the batter's box there and suffered spontaneous human combustion. They would have burned up right there in the batter's box, and they didn't want that. But they were long gone. And to those of us that watched the entire game, you're a bunch of suckers. They were out of there, baby. They were on vacation. And it gave me vibes. I talked about this the other day, the All-Star game in Milwaukee years ago, over 20 years ago when it ended in a tie, and that famous shot of then-Commissioner Bud Selig, the used car salesman, with a shrug. I don't know what to do. This was a missed opportunity of epic proportions. And they're doing damage control, Major League Baseball. They're like, oh, it's not that big a deal. It's okay. Bull crap, right? Bull crap. You swing and miss. So wing bada. Yeah. And so deserves a big, giant, fat fail stamped right across it that Ohtani and Judge were not part of this thing. The biggest boppers in baseball tapped out to get on a Delta Airlines flight from the Atlanta Hartsfield Airport. Of course, these guys probably fly private is what they do. So instead, we got, now there were a couple of big names in this thing, but we also, let me check my notes here. We had someone named Kyle Stowers of the Marlins and then the aforementioned Jonathan Aranda of the Rays in a swing-off. Whoop-de-damn-do. Yes, such a bad look for baseball. Such a bad look on a night where this was their night. They had the whole night, nothing else going on. Nobody watches the WNBA. This was the only thing going on, and you screwed it up. Now, Pete Alonso did not hit. He was supposed to hit. The National League did not need to have Alonso hit because they'd already won before Alonso was supposed to step in. And Kyle Schwarber stepping up, and he wins the MVP. And pretty good odds on that if you bet on Kyle Schwarber. I'm sure there's some dudes in the Delaware Valley that are smiling right now because they had a couple of bucks on Schwarber to win the MVP. All right, now, page 2. So what did you make of the overall All-Star presentation from a viewer standpoint, a consumer? You're the consumer. What did you make of it? So if you tuned in to Truist Park for the baseball, and you just wanted to see the baseball, you just want to see the ball, right? And that was a showcase of raw talent. That's what you wanted. That's just what you wanted. You got a lot more than you bargained for, if that's what you were planning on. Instead, what you got was what I would describe as a Broadway production. In this case, off-Broadway, because it was in Atlanta. Off-Broadway, and it looked like the people behind baseball thought they had the Tony Award in the bag for best choreography. And this is one of the things, like, you can't just let it breathe. You have to plan everything out. Now, am I ball humbug guy on this? I don't think I am. Oh, Ben, you're so negative. Okay, I'm just telling you my experience watching it. Now, it's possible you had a different experience. But the Major League Baseball scriptwriters worked overtime to plan all this out. And what we got, the result of that, was an absolute spectacle that felt less like a game for the balance of the game and more like some kind of reality TV episode, desperate for, quote, moments, close quote. I just got that. The thing is, like, these were not organic moments, but that's what they wanted, right? They were more concerned about going viral, becoming a trending topic on social media. Now, for reference, why don't we start with Clayton Kershaw? He was taken out in the second inning. The Dodgers left-hander, who didn't really want to go to the All-Star game. They dragged him as the commissioner's pick. At age 37, he was mic'd up. He played some grab ass, like he's trying to get a podcast there. But he's playing grab ass with John Smoltz. And then with 2 outs in the second, Dave Roberts bops out of the dugout there and pulls him out of the game. Now, why did Dave Roberts do that with 2 outs in that inning? Was it because Kershaw was gassed? I think he had thrown like 20 pitches. Is that too many? He's an old man? No. Was his arm about to fall off? No. Did he feel a twinge? No, that did not happen. It was scripted. Hello? It was scripted is what it was, right? It was time for him to exit because that's what baseball wanted. Perfectly timed for the fans in Atlanta. Whee! Clayton Kershaw. Woo! And he leaves the field. He tips his cap to the applause, a standing ovation, a tear-jerking moment made for television. And that was not the only one. All right, that was not the only one. Then there was Freddy Freeman, another Dodger, but always an Atlanta Brave, right? More Brave than a Dodger, even though he had one of the great home runs in World Series history as a Dodger. But Freddy Freeman, the Dodger first baseman, who's been pretty terrible the last month, Freddy Freeman, a darling of Braves teams gone by. So he got the full WWE treatment. It's like a Monday Night Raw broadcast on a Tuesday because before the All-Star game even started, you had the TV cameras zooming in on Freddie Freeman, like right either in the dugout or just outside the dugout there with Ken Rosenthal prodding him about his emotional Atlanta homecoming. Oh, it was so emotional. Freeman, of course, played along. Right, got a little misty-eyed there. Oh, man, talked about his glory days with the Atlanta Braves, and he still loves Atlanta and the fans and really just can't get enough. And then cue the violins, right? Just cue the violins. The crowd goes wild. Oh, my God. Of course, they played it in the stadium. So the crowd went wild. And he was introduced, and I could hear the producers probably on television in a truck whispering, "Perfect. We got the shot. Let's fade to the commercial. Fade to the commercial." Now, later in the fourth inning, Freddie Freeman singled. He then took a bow chicka wow wow. He took a little bow there, curtain call. And he was removed. Freeman was removed for Pete Alonso with 2 outs in the third inning, giving the fans another chance to go wild and give Freddie Freeman a big ovation. Of course, everyone ate it up. Made for television moment. Why not? Cameras lingered on Freddie Freeman there like they were filming Titanic, the remake. And was any of this spontaneous? Of course not. Please, it was not spontaneous. It was choreographed. It was like a boy band dance routine back in the day, right? I mean, it was choreographed. It was a soap opera-like production. And Major League Baseball, the puppet masters who go to that board meeting in Manhattan, they're like, all right, well, how can we get some viral moments here? What do we need to do? All right, well, let's have Kershaw step out, take him out early. We'll have Freeman come out early. We'll do a tribute to Hank Aaron. We'll do that later. I mean, there's certain things that were in this thing that were just done for the moment, right? Done for the moment. Even the home run derby at the end, which was not a derby, it was a swing off. Same concept, right? Same concept and all that. Now, the last word here, which I think is appropriate on the night that Freddie Freeman left the All-Star game early. And he was not alone, right? We talked about this at the beginning of this monologue, that Shohei Ohtani and Aaron Judge were gonzo, the biggest stars in the game, left before the game was over because they had a plane to catch or they had to go down to Magic City and get those lemon pepper chicken wings with Rob Parker. So they were gone. And did I do that? Yeah. So the faces of the Dodgers and the Yankees there, side by side, and they did a side-by-side cola challenge leading up to the All-Star game, and it's not even close in one area. Endorsement dollars. Now, I was reading this earlier. I don't know if you saw this, but Shohei Ohtani is making how much more than Aaron Judge per season in endorsements? This is just based on 2025. Endorsement revenue. Ohtani is making over $90 million more than Aaron Judge in off-field earnings. So how do you compute that? How does that compute with you, the amount of money, the revenue between the discrepancy between Ohtani and Aaron Judge? So it's not surprising. In fact, if you go down to Walmart and you buy my new book, Branding for Dummies, you will find out why there is such a disparity, right? While Ohtani and Judge both have high-end companies that they have partnerships with. They are brand ambassadors, blue chip companies, Hugo Boss, New Balance. Ohtani is in bed with the people over at Epic Games there. He was first player ever featured in Fortnite. First baseball player ever featured in Fortnite. So that was kind of a big deal. But Shohei Ohtani makes $100 million a year from endorsements. Aaron Judge, now I think he'll be okay, but he's at $8 million. So using my computer-like brain, that's a $92 million gap. And the reason, again, it's in my book. You can get it at Walmart. It's called Branding for Dummies, Benny's Branding for Dummies. And it's got, let's see, a global icon on one side and a domestic boss on the other. Advantage, global icon. Ohtani is the Yokozuna of merch in Japan. Now, I've not been to Japan, but I have been told by those that have been there, some of the people that were part of the Dodger traveling party, that Ohtani's ugly mug is on every other building in Tokyo. That it's all Ohtani all the time. And so they pay big money on that. $92 million a year gap. Or $92 million total, but the gap is insane, right? Ohtani, you're getting that kind of money. And you can defer $670 million to avoid paying the People's Republic of California taxes. All the other suckers that live in California have to pay those taxes. But Ohtani's like, nah, I'm going to take that deferred money, and I'm out. See you later, losers. I'm gone. So I don't think we need a bake sale for Aaron Judge. He does have a $360 million contract, and that's separate from the $8 million a year. And so he'll be able to handle those hard scrabble streets of the Bronx.